So welcome back to the tool shed. In this tool I call Shark Tank. This is for when you feel like you're surrounded in an echo chamber by, a bunch of yes men or nobody who's really challenging you. Either people are scared of you or they're apathetic in a relationship and she doesn't care. There's nothing there. Or you just feel stuck, static, stale in your life. Then you need the Shark Tank. So what's the Shark Tank? For me, the Shark Tank comes from the following story. Back in the 1800s, they were trying to ship tuna. I forget if it was from America to England, probably, or England to America. It doesn't matter. They were having a problem. These cargo ships had huge aquariums. Live tuna were arriving either sort of unhealthy, just kind of lingering and not top quality, or most of them were outright dead. They tried everything they could. They introduced oxygen into the tank. There were so many things that they tried to change the context, right? They tried to change the way that these fish were being transported, and it wasn't until they changed the content, they changed the experience, that the fish arrived in a healthy, vibrant way. And what did they do? They thought these fish were under stress. They thought they had to remove those impediments when in fact, finally, somebody thought to do the opposite. And they introduced a shark into the tank. And when they introduced the shark into the tank, voila, tuna were arriving not only alive, but vibrant, with vigor, healthy. Why? Because they needed a predator. They needed an adversary. They needed a purpose. They needed that tension. So my teacher, Dr. Viktor Frankl, who I talk about a lot, talks about in life, we try and seek homeostasis. We try and seek this equanimity, this balance. That has its place. However, he talks about from a deeper level. It might call it spiritual or, your inner essence, your true self, doesn't matter what you call it. We shouldn't have homeostasis, equanimity, when everything's calm. What we need is tension. He calls it neurodynamics. It's just a fancy way for saying we need tension in our lives. Tension is not bad. Anxiety is not bad. We have these words now where we just sort of written off as get rid of that thing. Don't get rid of that thing. Now, don't live surrounded, sharks circling you all day long. Tension in your life to the point where you can't function. Anxiety, which causes paralysis. But don't do the opposite and, get rid of it, expel it all from your tank, from your life. We need a healthy degree of tension. All things need tension if they're gonna grow. Right? How do you create a diamond? By coal with tension, compression, and through that process, it grows into something magnificent. All things require a healthy and appropriate amount of attention. So I have, conversations and I guide people to bring down the anxiety, of course, to bring down the tension, to bring down the chaos, because they're living in survival mode and their body, their nervous system is just frayed and depleted, and you got to fill yourself back up. But then there's other times, especially in this day and age, when we're living with so much comfort, with such a lack of tension, that we just numb ourselves into a stupor. We sedate ourselves. So many men I guide are bored. Doesn't mean they don't have a lot of moving parts and activity. They're fish swimming around a tank, but they're bored, right? We've never had in human history this much autonomy, this much freedom, this much downtime. And so we end up numbing ourselves through 1,000 different ways. The bottom line is maybe we need more tension, not less tension. Frankl uses the analogy, and I know this firsthand because I lived in Israel. If you walk in the old city in Jerusalem, they have tons of Roman arches. And those Roman arches are 2,000 years old. Now, when they start to crumble, the natural reaction would be to fill in the mortar between the stones. However, as any architect will tell you, what you do is, because it's an arch, you put more tension on the arch, because then it shores up the gaps, right? It needs more tension because over time, a lack of tension leads to this homeostasis. Things fall apart with too much tension, but with not enough tension. And so in our lives, sometimes we have to introduce the shark. Think about your life and your struggles right now, and maybe you need to empty your cup. I have a video on that. That's about diminishing some of the noise, getting rid of some of the tension, anxiety, but maybe you need to create the shark tank. Think about what's missing in your life. How do you get back there? And if it's introducing more tension, then think about what's my shark? What can I introduce to my life that doesn't devour me, but that also keeps me swimming, that keeps me growing? How can I bring that tension to the Roman arch to shore up the crumbling feeling in my life, the malaise, the midlife, sort of boredom that sets into all of us? What is the shark that I can introduce to my tank? See you in the next tool.